Hello and welcome to Comprehend This podcast. I'm going solo today. So, have you ever had that class? You know, that one that feels like teaching inside a tornado made of teenage side-eye and missing pencils? Yeah, that one. This week it's just me flying solo. No guests, no backup, no emotional support co-host. Just one teacher trying to make sense of that class. We're talking chaos management, bathroom kid, eye roll expert, and how to keep your sanity when the vibe is crowd control instead of comprehensible input. So grab your caffeine, lower your expectations, and let's commiserate, because if you've ever ended class thinking, well, no one cried, so that's a win, this episode's for you. Let's go ahead and get started right after these messages. Ever feel like you're clinging to the edge of your teacher planner, just hoping today's lesson magically appears? Enter the CI Survival Kit, a monthly membership made for teachers who love comprehensible input, but also love not reinventing the wheel every Sunday night. Each month, you get fresh, ready to use lessons, time saving tools, and just enough structure to keep your teaching life together. No stress, no guilt, just monthly help from someone who gets it. Sign up at mm.us/survival and let the survival kit do the heavy lifting for once.
Welcome to Comprehend This, real talk for real language teachers. No drills, no dry theory, just honest stories, practical ideas, and a reminder you're not alone in the CI trenches. Let's dive in.
And welcome back. How's everybody doing today? As always, if you have any questions or comments, go ahead and please put them in the chat or in the comment box. I will be glad to answer any questions you have, address your comments as we go along. I'm going solo today, so we don't have any guest hosts. We'll have some new guest hosts next week. Excuse me. But for this one, we don't have any guest hosts. So let's go ahead and just get started here. That class. Everybody has had that class. That one class that either has too much energy or not enough energy, or they're unpredictable, they're moody, all kinds of things. And let me tell you, I have had a whopper of a class. Last year, I talked about coming back to high school, and I had some problems with my first semester, and I made some changes, and my second semester went swimmingly after that. And then comes this fall. Oh my gosh. I have a class. And let me start how our school works. So we're on a 4x4, which means that we have 4 classes per semester, and we cover a year's worth of material in one semester. So the kids take 8 classes a school year, 4 first semester and then 4 second semester. Teachers teach 3 out of 4. The fourth class would be their prep period. So I have this class, and I'm teaching this year. I have a weird schedule. I'm teaching 2 level 1s, Spanish, and then my third class is building foundations for success. I have no experience teaching this class. They signed me up for it. I had to teach it. It has nothing to do with Spanish. And so that one's just a challenge all on its own. But my second Spanish 1 class has been challenging from the first minute of the very first day. I kid you not. I start classes the same way. So I had a first period, I had a second period. My first period went perfectly, just like I would expect a first day to go. My second period, I had challenges from the get-go, from the moment. So it wasn't about not building relationships. It wasn't because they didn't like how I taught, or they didn't like me, or they didn't even have a chance to say they didn't like Spanish. They came in with their preconceived notions as they came into my classroom. So they came in wanting to not like the classroom. Guten Morgen! Skaten Frau. I think that's how you're supposed to pronounce that. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Guten Morgen. Um, so right from that very, very, very get-go, I had issues with them. They didn't want to sit in assigned seats. They wanted to do what they wanted to do. I had blurters. I had two blurters that just blurted everything, just interrupted. And if they weren't blurting directly at me, they were blurting across the room to their friends. I mean, usually on that, you get a week at least before the kids start actually causing problems, before they start waking up and becoming themselves. They like to feel out the class. Not this class from the day one. We have, because of state law, we have strict cell phone policies. They're not allowed to have their cell phones out. So a lot of us have lock boxes. They refuse to put their phones in the lockbox. My first period, my third period, not a problem. They went right in the lockbox right away. Second period, nobody. I even bribed them with candy, with little snack packs of Sour Patch Kids, which is what they liked. I could not get them to put their phones in the lockbox. Not only that, they would take the phones out and blatantly use them. They would complain about everything in class. And I asked for the cell phone because if I see it, I take it. And for the first time, I had kids absolutely refuse, and refusing is an automatic suspension at our school. But they still did it. I just never had so many challenges. They came in looking for a fight every single day. That was that class. Um, Cussing out of control, using the N word out of control. None of these kids wanted to be here, and it showed. And they showed, these are freshmen, they're just starting their high school careers, and they are giving so much resistance. And let me correct that, it's not every student in my class. Because of the nature of where I work with career and technical academy. So I don't have as normal size classes as everybody else, because they have to pair them up with the academy class that they're in, and they have to come to a different campus than the main campus. So my class size was 18, and I had about 7 of those kids were my challenging kids, 7 of them in different ways. The blurters, um, the cussers, the N-worders, the refuse to give up the cell phone, the ones who refuse to sit in their seats. That was all of it. And I struggled. I'm telling you, this is like my 24, 25. I can't remember anymore. I'm getting so old. Was a struggle for me like I've never had before. And I thought last year, where I only had a few kids who were troublemakers, this time it's not. I had a lot of them, and all in one class, and nothing was getting done. I would ask questions, crickets. I would try to get them to engage, crickets. I would get them to play, find new games for them to play, crickets. They weren't having any of it. No matter what I tried, they did not want to do it. Any of you have that same situation? If so, put in an emoji in the comments and let me know that you've had one of these classes or somewhat similar to this. Because I'm telling you, I was frustrated. I was frustrated. I didn't know what to do, because what I was doing in my first period was working beautifully like it usually does. But this class just wasn't having it. I made personalized stories that put those kids as stars of the stories. They didn't care. I'm telling you, everything that I tried positive postcards. I tried positive emails. I tried positive phone calls home. I gave them points that they can use rewards for candy and other things like that. I tried points for parties. All of these things were utter failures with these kids. They just did not want any part of what we're doing, not any part of it at all. They wanted nothing to do with what was going on in class. And I didn't know what to do to fix it. I had no idea on how to fix it because everything I tried just wasn't working. I needed to find a way to reach these students so that I could find a way through. So I wanted the other kids, at least those 7 kids, um, they don't know how to do school. They didn't want to do school. They were having trouble not just in my class, but in all of their classes. So my secondary goal was to try to find a way to reach them. But my primary goal was to reach the rest of the class and get them to be able to learn. I didn't want them to have to suffer because of the schedule that they got. And it was difficult. Um, excuse me. So what I had to do is go back to the basics. I went back to the basics. And I'm going to tell you, I was out of ideas. I would go in, and I know I've told you this before. ChatGPT is my wonderful teacher assistant. I use it for a lot of things. And I used it to try to give me ideas to help these kids become more engaged in class. So I went in ChatGPT and I described my class. I didn't put kids' names in there, obviously, for privacy reasons, but I would put, I have the blurter, and I put what he would do. I had the inappropriate talker who used not only sexual talk, but cursing and the N word. Put that in there. I put in there, I have kids who refuse to sit in their assigned seats, like openly refuse and will not move and will not budge. I had kids about the cell phones. I put all of the problems I had and I asked ChatGPT for help, and it gave me some great strategies. Some worked, some did not. And as I'm progressing through the semester, I'm trying these new strategies, trying new games, ways to engage them, ways to reward them, different things. And a lot of things that came me was, excuse me, was very straightforward stuff that, we all know about and we try. And I tried those. So I went back and said, I've done those and they still don't work. And I've done what I ended up doing in the past, but when you don't do something for a long time, it kind of escapes your mind. It's not on top of mind. And that's what happened with this particular strategy that I tried. So, and ChatGPT brought it back to me. So what I had done is I was just getting frustrated because my kids needed to learn and I wanted my kids to be successful. But the issues were they weren't. And they were resisting me at every chance. And so CI wasn't really working when I wasn't getting the engagement that I wanted. So I went back to what Blaine Ray always did. If they didn't want to do CI, we'll go back to the textbook and you try it temporarily. So I brought the textbook out, we started working on it, and we did it for 2 weeks. Just like I suspected, even more lack of engagement, even more frustration. They weren't learning from the textbook. We know the textbook doesn't really teach very well. I would give the instructions, and then I would tell them to work on so many exercises, and then I would grade them and work with them and walk around and help them. But a lot of kids were more and more disengaged, and they didn't like the textbook. I knew they wouldn't. So after I have done that 2 weeks, and I'm telling ChatGPT what I'm doing, it reminded me of something I have had to do maybe once or twice in my career, and that was a classroom reset. So what we did is we took 2 days. It took 2 days. And I said, okay, I know you're not happy. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not happy either. And I was completely honest. I opened up and I said, you know what? I like my job. I like teaching kids. And I like all of you. but I hate this class. I dread coming into this classroom every single day, just like you do." And the kids were like nodding their heads. I'm like, many of you come in wanting to fight right from the beginning. And it wasn't because you didn't like me, because you did that on the day one, the very first day before you even knew me. You came in with a fight on your hands. So we were honest. And so after talking to them, I said, I want you guys to learn. I want you guys to pass high school. And many of you already as freshmen are not on the path to graduating high school. We need to fix this. And I gave them like 10 reflection questions about the class. So they could be completely honest with no repercussions as long as they were being um, respectful and didn't call out anybody's names. So they could say I was having problems with this particular student, or this particular student was doing this that didn't help me learn, but without calling names. I knew who these kids were, so I didn't even need to call the names out. But I wanted them to be honest, and I gave them about 20 minutes to answer these questions, get some ideas, get some things. And these were questions like, what isn't working? Why do you think it's not working? Or what could we do as a class to make this better? What are you frustrated by? Just, common questions to get them to really think about the class and how we can make changes to it. And I said, tell me, be honest. Don't tell me what you think I want to hear. Tell me what your truth is. Nobody's going to get in trouble for this at all. It's just I need this honest feedback so we can make it better. And so we did this class reset. Then I went through and I read every single answer that they wrote, and I commented back on every single one. There was like 10 to 20 questions. I can't remember exactly how many questions it was. But they did it, and I had they did it in my formative. I used formative for everything. They put it in there. I read it. I sent them comments back. The next day, I gave them time to read those comments that I wrote. I addressed some of the comments that they wrote in there, anonymously, of course, about things that they brought up, and I addressed all of those. I explained some of the things, why I do certain things, and some of the things that they wanted wasn't going to happen because of this, that, and that. Like please let us sit by our friends. And I'm like, I love to have you sit by your friends, but let's be honest, you guys aren't doing the work when you sit with your friends. You're just goofing off. And so that is a problem. Or what was some other thing they said they wanted? I can't remember. They said something that was there, but I can't remember what it was. But it was obviously not going to happen. So we went through all of this, and then I gave them a plan based on what they wrote and what I needed from them in class. We came up with some new classroom reset rules, and I didn't think about this before, but I'm going to do it right now. Let me pull up what they were. Got to pull up my lesson plans from a couple weeks ago. Spanish 1. See, so it was probably here. Let me see if this is the right one. Maybe this wasn't the right lesson plan. Sorry, give me just a moment while I find it. Okay, so it wasn't that week. That was week 11. So maybe it was week 12. Yep. Okay, here it is. Week 12. So let me tell you the steps I did. First of all, what we did was we did the reset reflection, we had a reset conversation, and then this part was setting the new expectations. And so here is the expectations that we came up with, and we talked about them. Here they are. Okay. So here are the Spanish class reset rules. And let me see if I. No, it's going to be too hard. Okay. So um, sit in your assigned seat, no switching, no trading, or wandering, an easy win. Phones stay in jail or out of sight. If it's out, it goes to jail till the end of class. No warnings. 3, listen when someone's talking. Me, your classmates, it doesn't matter who. Respect equals quiet. 4, be part of the class or work silently. And we're going to talk about that in just a moment. You choose participate or stay chill and quiet. No drama. Follow directions the first time. It's faster for everyone, including you. And we keep it calm, clean, and kind. No side talk, no shade, no chaos. We've got things to do. Bottom line, you control your choices. I control the environment. Let's make this less miserable for everyone. Deal? And so I went with that, and then I put that um, on a form. And again, it was informative. They had all the things they could read through, and I said, do you agree to follow these rules? Or no, I don't agree to follow these rules. And if they wrote no, they had to write why they didn't agree. Well, everybody bought in, and I have now record because everybody's recorded with their saying, yes, I agree. And so we started class with this new mindset. Now, in the past, I hadn't ever done this part of this reset before. And this reset is different from previous resets. I mean, you've got to look at the kids that you're in and with the kids that you have and deal with those particular kids. So what you did, 3 years ago doesn't necessarily work. So I adjusted my reset plan to um to this particular class. Again, I followed um the same steps in my reset because going back to my reset steps, if I can find them, there they are. Reset reflection, reset conversation, expectations, and a class contract. Those steps are all the same, but what that reflection looks like, what that conversation looks like, and what the expectations look like, that's where things change based on the kids you have in front of you. Now, this part I've not done before, and the ChatGPT suggested it, and I said, well, I will try it, and it's been working. So be a part of the class or work silently. That means the students have 2 choices every day. Option 1, be a part of the class. Join in, listen, answer, laugh appropriately, and do the activities. You don't have to be perfect, just be present and respectful. Or 2, work silently. If you're not feeling it that day, that's fine, but you can't distract others. You'll do your work quietly and let everyone else focus. No talking, no phones, no sideshows. You get to choose your level of participation, but you don't get to choose chaos. And I wasn't sure how this was going to work. So I went through and I found activities that my kids could do silently. If I were my previous schools where we didn't use the textbook, I would have had to create these or find them from previous class years. I save everything I do, so I wouldn't have to recreate the wheel, but I could use previous stories and questions and stuff that my kids did not have, that I didn't use for this year's kids. But because I had the textbook, what I did is I printed out all the workbook activities. I made a packet, and it's maybe it's probably got 32 pages, and I print two to a side of paper, so I get four on each piece of paper. So it's a little packet. And when I ask at the beginning of class, so right after attendance, right after our warm up, I'll say, okay, I ask every kid, and it takes a couple of minutes, but this way I'm getting that commitment. I go through my attendance sheet and I say, John, are you going to be part of the class today, or you want to work silently? And they tell me. Then I go, Sally, do you want to be part of the class today, or you want to work silently? So I'm getting the commitment right off the bat. And that's important because they're going to now get in the mindset that they either are doing option one or they're doing option two. If they choose to do option two, they get the packet. I'll write their name on the packet and I'll hand them that packet. And it's a daily decision. Now, during class period, if something goes wrong, and let's say they're talking or they're not participating or they're not, I'm just going to say, I need you back on board, or I can get your packet for you. And 9 times out of 10, they come back on board and we're good. But sometimes they're like, I'm just not feeling it today. Give me the packet. So I'll give them the packet. If they've already had the packet, I've collected it already, I give it back to them, the one they've already had, or if they're a brand new packet user, they get a new packet with their name on it. At the end of class, they put the packet in the turn-in basket, and then I will grade the work that they did for that class period. I'll keep the packet again until they ask for it again. And it's been working. It keeps the kids who just can't focus or can't whatever out of disrupting the rest of the class. And it's their choice. It's not a punishment. I say it with a straight face, with no emotion. It's up to them. They're still getting language practice. Not the best language practice if they're choosing the worksheets instead, but at least they're getting it, and I'm fulfilling my job of getting them to learn what it is that they need to learn. And they're not distracting the rest of the kids. And so that was really, really important for me. The other thing that I did was if they choose not to participate, so they're not participating actively and they're not participating doing the worksheets, I tell them, if you choose not to can I speak this morning? Participate, there's a 3-strike system. You always have choices in this class, but choices come with results, not surprises, not drama, just clear steps. So the first time it's a reminder, something like, I'll quietly say like, hey, you can join in or work silently, your choice. No lecture, no attitude, just my warning that they're off track. Fix it and we move on easy. Strike 2, a seat change and silent work. If it happens again, you'll move to a quiet spot and work on your own. No phone, no talking, no side comments. You're still responsible for the assignment. This is your reset zone. Take it and chill. And the third, parent guardian contact and a behavior log. If they still choose not to participate or distract others, I'll log it. I'll contact home. If this happens 3 times in a week, I'll also loop an admin for support. No surprises. That's the line. And I tell them the bottom line is you control your choices. I control the learning environment. Let's keep it fair, calm, and consistent for everyone. And that has been working. I haven't had to write anybody up or make any parent contacts as of yet. And I think we're in 2nd week of doing this reset. So it has been working. Now, the other things I had to address were I have frequent bathroom users. And we talked about this before, and I told you last year I came up with bathroom passes, something I've never had to do before because my kids were taking advantage of my system. But the bathroom passes I came up with last year were getting to be a mess to handle. The kids would lose them all the time. They were small. It just was more of a hassle than it was worth. So I came up with a new bathroom pass system for my kids. So they still have to sign out with me, but how they do that is I give them a calendar. a calendar for the month. So they'll get a calendar for October. They got a calendar just last week for November. And when they want to go to the bathroom, because I don't like them raising their hand and asking because it interrupts class, they just come up, they drop the paper on my desk. I will sign it. I will put a time stamp on it. And then they pick it up when they're done. They go take the pass, they go to the bathroom. And I still limit 5 passes. And I can see if they've used the 5 passes, where when they turned in the little slips of paper, they only had 5, but they were swapping them with other kids. So some kids were taking 10 passes while other kids were not having any passes. There was all kinds of issues. So this worked really well. And then I could let them know they've already 3. I go, you're on number 3. You've only got 2 left, and we still got 2 weeks left of class of the month. So that really, really helped. Once I got everybody to agree to the bathroom passes, that has been working. The contract that I had the kids sign, if they are breaking it, like I've asked them to move their seat because they're not sitting in their assigned seat and they start to give me gruff about it, I say, remember, we had an agreement. Everybody has to sit in their assigned seats to do their work. If they still give me objections, then we deal with it. I'll take them outside. I'll talk to them, explain what the problem is. And if I have to, I might make a deal with them. I go, if you can get your work done or actively participate in class for maybe 3 days or maybe even 4 days, I'll let you sit next to your friend for Friday. But then we have to go back to our assigned seat on Monday. Make these kinds of deals with them. The other thing is mental. I had to change my mentality because I'm not kidding. I have had some tough classes, and I used to teach a class in middle school where the kids were all behavior problems, all in the same room, all at the same time. It was done by design so they wouldn't be mixing in, distracting all the other kids. And the first year I taught that, I absolutely dreaded it. It was horrible. But I lied to myself until it became true. And I said, I love this class. It's my favorite class. I told them they were my favorite class every single day. And then would tell me, guess what, Profe? You said it to all of your classes. And I made sure that I did not. And they tested it because they would ask kids from other of my classes, who was my favorite class? And I told my other class that that period was my favorite class. It was my first period. I said, my first period's my favorite class, even though it was with a whole bunch of challenging kids for all kinds of different reasons. And I made them believe it until I believed it as well. Now, my other classes, I would say, oh, you are my most engaged class. I said anything but favorite. And my kids started to believe that they were my favorite class. And then I started to believe that they were my favorite class. And we came together as a team, working together. So that mindset is really important. So I go into that class saying, this is going to be a great day. I love these kids. I love this class. It's going to be awesome. Instead of complaining about it. And it's a mindset shift, and it takes a while, but it does work. When you feel good about the class, the kids see that you feel good about the class, and the energy changes. So you have to be in that right mindset, and you can't take it personally. 9 times out of 10, it's not you why they're behaving this way. They have issues at home. They have issues with friends. They don't do school well. There's so many things going on in today's kids' lives. You can't take it personally. So you have to find a way to love every one of these kids, no matter what, so that you can have the energy to teach them the best way that you know how. And lastly, I know I've been talking a lot. We're going to end pretty soon here. If you have any questions or comments, please share them. I know I'm not the only one who has classes like this, and you may not have it every year or every semester, but you've had a couple of them in your career. The last thing I want to talk about is just celebrating tiny wins. So, whatever is a win, when you have something that happens, and it might be small, it might just be there were no tears that day, and only we had partial participation rather than no participation. That is a win, and let's celebrate it. So then I will go into the next day or at the end of class say, class, that was a good class. Was it our best? Not yet, but it was better than yesterday. Um, Skate and Frau says, would you be willing to share that reset reflection with us? Yes, I will. Let me go ahead and see if I can get that done right now before I forget. Let's see. And for those who are listening on a podcast, I'll put it in the show notes. I got to find it here first. I do everything informative, so I've got to go there first. Let's see, where's my class? There's my class reflection. And while I'm doing it, let me just say what the questions were. I can tell those because I can look it up right here. And there weren't as many questions as I thought there were. I think there are only 6. So I said, how are you feeling about this class right now? Honest version, not the one you think I want to hear. Be nice, but be honest. What makes it hard for you to focus or stay engaged in here? What's one thing I could do differently that would make it easier for you to learn or participate? Please don't put things like let us play on our phones or sit with our friends. Be realistic. What can I do to actually help you focus and learn? What's one thing you could do differently to help this class go better for everyone, including you? And when class is going well, what's happening? What are people, including you, doing that helps it work? Anything else you want me to know, even if you think I won't like it. So those are the questions. Let me go ahead and print this to a PDF. Let's do that. Print as a PDF. Let's see. Class reset questions. Put that in my... I'll get a share link here. Just a second. Class reset questions. There it is. Copy link. And anyone with a link. Copy link. Done. Okay, so here it is. I put it in the comments for those who are watching on YouTube, but I will go ahead also put it in the link in the show notes so you can get that for yourself as well. I didn't grade this, by the way, either. I just gave it to them. I told them it wasn't going to be graded, but I wanted honest but respectful answers. And they lived up to that. So that was really good. And thank you for asking that. It was a great question, Skate and Frau. Just celebrate those tiny wins. Every little win says, you guys, you were quiet today. That was a win. Skate and Frost says, thanks. I wish more were watching with me. I have that one class that makes me cry on the regular. Yep. Yeah, we don't usually get a lot of viewers. We've got about 5 or 6 right now, live on Sundays, but we usually get a lot on the replays. So that's where a lot of them will be watching. We'll watch it get bigger and bigger. Sunday mornings are always hard for a lot of people. But with the time changes, it's always hard for me to find a good time that works with everybody. So it will be available on YouTube, so you can rewatch for those who missed it live or missed part of this. And also it will be out. I'll be sending it out to the podcasts as soon as we're done here, sending it out there. But thank you. Yes, I wish as well. Because everybody's had this problem one time or another, at least one time in their career. But we want to celebrate those wins, and every little win, guys, Half of you participated today. That's a win. Let's try to get at least one more kid to participate tomorrow. Or, uh, you know, seven of you turned in your phones today. Can we get eight or nine tomorrow? If we can get nine tomorrow, then I will do this for you on the next day. We can have, 10 minutes of free time, or I'll bring candy in for the class, or I'll bring cookies in, or something like that. Sometimes you got to bribe them. PBIS does work sometimes. And so do what you've got to do, but you celebrate those wins. You can't wait for it to be a full success, because that's not going to happen right away. You take those small wins and show them that they're progressing, and every little step along the way helps. And that's what really work. And they start to see that. I'm like, oh my gosh, guys, look, this happened. We got everybody turned in their cell phones today. That is awesome. That is awesome. We're going to go and show 20 minutes of a movie tomorrow, something like that. Whatever you can do. Or, oh my gosh, everybody turn their phones. I'm going to buy all of you donuts tomorrow. We'll buy every class gets donuts. Something like that, to get them really excited. Find something they really, really love and celebrate those wins. Give those big jackpot prizes for big wins, like all the cell phones. Those incremental wins, a few minutes of free time will help them with that. Maybe a piece of candy, like a Jolly Rancher, or that, or little snack packs of gummy bears, or Sour Patch Kids, because those are their two favorite things that they like. So those little tiny, like the Halloween packs are what I'm talking about, not like the snack packs like that. The little tiny things you buy multiple in the bag for Halloween. Those work really, really well. Find what works for your kids and celebrate those tiny wins. But the biggest thing is your mindset. They reflect off of you. If you don't have a good mindset going into your class, neither will they. And you're going to have to lie to yourself in the beginning, like I did for that class. I said, that first class many years ago, I love this class. I love this class. And I did not. In the beginning, it was really tough. But eventually, guess what really happened? I did love that class. We bonded together. And one thing that I did that I had never done with a class before is I took this class on a field trip. It was a local one. We have a local Mexican restaurant right a couple blocks down from maybe a half a mile from our school. And so I said, you guys are the only class I've ever taken on a field trip. And we're going to go to a Mexican restaurant, and we're going to have lunch. And you get to take lunch, and you're going to skip the class after lunch. So that was for us fifth period. No, yeah, fifth period. So they took, yeah, fifth. I'm trying to remember that schedule. It's been so long. So we took lunch, and we took fifth period and partially sixth period. So I said, you'll be coming back in the middle of sixth period, and they had 7 periods. So, and then they had seventh period, and they liked it because these kids didn't really like school. So they were getting out of class. We walked over there. We had 2 other chaperones with me. We had a really good time. The kids enjoyed it. And the next year I had that class again, and a couple of those kids repeated that class with me, and they're like, oh no, we're not doing that again next year. He goes, that was us. That was our special thing for being a good class last year, and nobody else is going to replicate that. They were really proud that they had earned that. And so that was a win. So there's going to be days that you're not going to like all your classes. It just is the way that it is. And there are those classes that are going to drive you bonkers. That's just the way that it is. But your attitude and the way that you handle it can make changes for the better. We're near the end of the semester for me. We end the semester middle of December, right when we go for winter break. So I've only got 4 weeks left with these kids, and then finals week. So 5 weeks left with these kids. So it came late. I should have done it earlier, but the class reset really has helped, and it made everybody focus on the behavior, the atmosphere, and everything. So I can't highly recommend that enough. And then also, Use ChatGPT to help you. If you have a stubborn kid that you don't know what you can do to help this kid or how you can better handle this situation, ChatGPT doesn't always get it right. We know that, but it can give you ideas. It can make you think. It can give you other perspectives. So put in all the details. Don't put any personal information in there and let it give you some suggestions. And if you don't like the suggestions, it's a chat. Tell them, I don't like that suggestion, or I've already done that suggestion. Can you go deeper? Can you give me something else? And that will get you some good ideas and get you flowing in the right direction. So that's a wrap on today's episode. Thanks for hanging out with me and surviving that class. Talk without backup. You're a true CI warrior. And please let me know if you've done it, what you've done to help win over a class. Let me know in the chats. Let me know in the comments. Let me know that we're all in this together. And I hope what we talked about helps you get through that class that makes you cry. But if you got a laugh or a new idea or just felt a little less alone in the classroom madness, right now, Skate and Frau and I are all alone in the room because no one else is talking here. Do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, leave a quick review, and share this episode with another teacher who needs it. You can always watch live on YouTube or catch the replay anytime on your favorite podcast app. And until next time, ditch the drills, trust the process, and I'll see you next time on Comprehend This. Have a good week, everybody.